Bigger than Capes.
Give me some outside.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and then I watched it.
Oh, dry.
Hello, welcome to Bigger Than Capes. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by a nearly voiceless Angela.
Yes, hello. I apologise for my laryngitis, but we'll get through it.
We'll power through. We're going to get
power
through this.
through.
I can always try and edit this in Logic to put more bass in.
Yeah, I think I described it to you earlier as like a high-pitched Catherine Janeway.
I'm not entirely sure that's accurate, but I can see where you're coming from in a weird kind of way. Luckily for Angela, luckily for everybody, this is going to be a relatively short episode. We've got 4 books to talk about, but we're doing recommendations. And what we're recommending today is books featuring bears.
Although we can't prove the last one has a bear in. I feel I need to look this up now.
3 out of 4 bears ain't bad. No, this is actually going to be all ages recommendations. The intention originally was that this would come out early enough in December that this would be a great, hey, Christmas recommendations for those kids you may or may not know. I mean, only buy Christmas presents for kids you do know. I guess that's...
I think there's laws against buying them for kids you don't know. I don't know.
Laws, guidelines.
Yeah.
So obviously this is coming out quite close to Christmas, but I still think with over a week to go, there is the opportunity for you to run out and buy some last minute comics as great Christmas presents.
You have time.
Other end of year winter solstice festivals are available.
Yeah, I mean, if you celebrate in Eastern Orthodox Church, you're not celebrating to the 6th of January anyway. So you got even more time.
Or Spain, Three Kings Day, and you've got plenty of places where, you might be stealing an extra 2 weeks, and technically we're really early.
Yeah.
It's a matter of opinion. It's but if you're, if you are a December-based festive activity, work fast. Yeah. On that nonsensical note, which is our brand, or your brand at the very least.
Nonsense is... I can't remember what it is now. Nonsense is my brand or something.
I think that's what you keep saying in different episodes we've done. I can't remember when that started.
No.
But it's come up recently a lot. 4 books, all relatively indie. There is one that is arguably not indie on any level.
No, it's not.
Hey, we'll get to that.
Yes.
So first up is the most small and local, at the risk of promoting my own brand a little bit too much here. One of the places it's available right now is volume1comics.co.uk, but also available from Gosh and a few other local shops, is Kobe Alone by Beck Kubrick, which was kickstarted last year, I think, kind of early 2021, and then came out end of 2021. Kobe Alone, in a nutshell, is about a kid called Kobe who, for unclear reasons, is not allowed to go outside, and is, however, entrusted with a spell book which allows them to summon a friend who's not very human.
No.
And takes on the form of a giant stuffed bear, really. They. I'm not sure this demon.
Do demons have gender? That is the question.
Often depends on the person writing it and the show and the TV or the film or whatever. Nameless Demon Bear and Kobe then, face the mysteries of the world they live in together.
Yes.
it's an interesting balance of things because it is quite all age. It is definitely all ages, but is quite a little bit spooky, a little bit sad, a little bit funny. A lot good. I really like this.
Yes.
I think Beck's art is really cute and kind of simple, but in a really effective way. I think the emotion does come across, and the kind of risograph. I hope that's a real word. Risograph seems like a real word.
That's the dotty thing.
Yes. So everything is kind of tones of blue rather than full color, but I think it is quite nice, and I think the aesthetic is simple, cutesy, but just really good. I don't know. I'm struggling for more intelligent words, Angela.
It's good. Where's the thesaurus? It is. It's just really. It's sweet. It's just.
Yeah.
It's just lovely. You've got like I say, the art's really cute and works well, and you still get the emotions. And it isn't like it's sweet, but it isn't like sickly sweet or too. You know, these things can get the fact that it's a demon for starters. I think is good choice.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. As a kid, I know I would have been into this because I mean, I know the first Marvel stuff that I was interested in was like Spider-Man, but when he was with Morbius and things like that. So I think the kind of cute occult stuff is there's a target audience for it, and I was that kid. So I'm assuming there's just more of me now.
I'm assuming there are definitely kids who are, because it's quirky. It's not mainstream, but that's what makes it good, because it will appeal to kids who are a little bit, you know, I like my occult and my demon bears, and also, you know, little adventure stories with kids in them. Yeah,
definitely. I think in a world where we've had like Dead End on Netflix, adapted from Dead Endia, which I think the show is more all ages than the graphic novels were. Yeah. So I can see that there would be kids who probably want more of that kind of thing, which I feel like this isn't a million miles away from kind of Dead Endia's vibe.
No, there is a similar vibe, definitely.
Yes, Dead End is good.
There's another recommendation.
Yeah, probably slightly older kids, but I think Dead Endia is a good shout. I feel like there's other stuff in that kind of territory, but my brain's fried this week. Right now. I don't have a lot more to add. I know this. I mean, we said this was going to be brief.
Short. And to be fair, Kobe Alone is quite a short.
Yes.
Which is another thing.
I'm actually not sure how long this is. I know I should know the answer.
There are no page numbers. But I think the other thing about it being short is that does help with the all ages thing, because as we know, children have very short attention spans.
I can confirm it's 44 pages.
Well, hey!
I knew the internet was good for something. That's true. I think this is the shortest. Yeah, this is definitely.
Yes, by quite a way, yeah.
Which definitely helps in the accessibility. It's also the smallest physically, I think.
Yes.
It's close to some of the other stuff we're going to talk about, but I think it's a good like kid-sized book.
It is.
Yeah, definitely recommendation.
Yep.
If you want to check out anything else from Beck as well, all their stuff is pretty cool. We've had 2 issues of Meat for Burgers, which is different and not all ages, more. I mean, all ages if you're into that existential dread as a child. I mean, I know I was, but
might not be a popular choice.
I mean this in the nicest possible way. I've read 2 issues of Meat for Burgers and I'm still not entirely sure what's going on. It's kind of existential dread in being trapped in a fast food restaurant, seemingly outside of reality. I don't know. It's a book. It's good. It's a good read, but I do feel lost and confused. Which, if that's the goal, it's nailing it.
Done it.
Also, Beck has just released Dead Girls Beach Day, which is conveniently in my hand. We're not a visual podcast. This is irrelevant.
No, I was going to say.
Why do I do this? I do this
I
every
don't
episode.
know. These are for the days when we have a Patreon and you can watch videos.
Incidentally, go follow us on Coffee, where occasionally I might post something.
Who's to say?
Dead Girls Beach Day is kind of a mini comic, and I know Beck's been pitching a graphic novel with the same characters to do more. But Beach Day is very good. Falls somewhere between Kobe Alone and Meat for Burgers, because I understand this quite well. It's kind of horror comedy equally. It's 44 pages, the agreed upon length of
That all of Beck's
small
comics
press
are 44.
made by Beck.
Yes.
Yeah, Meat for Burgers is shorter, I think, but yeah. Go check out Dead Girls, check out Kobe, check out Meat for Burgers. Probably not all for kids.
No, but
Definitely not all for kids. I know that.
If you're shopping for the children, Kobe Alone.
Yeah, Kobe. If you're shopping for existential dread, Meat for Burgers, and if you're shopping for horror comedy, Dead Girls.
Sorted. Those are the three main shopping types.
They are. People act like there's other types, but you're either shopping for existential dread, horror, comedy, or kids.
Pretty much, yeah.
That being said, one of my favourite lines in Dead Girls is something along the lines of, kids love drowning. That's like one of their things.
Oh dear. It's a good line.
It's funnier than it has any right to be. Or that might say something about what's wrong with me. But, I mean, there's a lot wrong with me. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Moving on.
Moving swiftly on.
From our, I'm inclined to say, from our most independent to our least independent in one fell swoop.
One extreme to another.
Do you want me to do the intro for this because of your voice, or do you want to go for it?
I'll go for it. I've got water on hand. If you hear me garg. Right, so this is so un-indie because this is just corporate tie-in.
Every word you say in this title, in the title of this book, will make it clear how un-indie it is.
So it is Lego Ninjago Garmadon, and it is righted and arted by Tri Vuong. Did we decide?
Oh God, I'm not even sure.
Vuong. I am apologising in advance for mispronouncing that.
I think that's right. Tri Vong.
Tri Vong. There we go. The colorist is Annalisa Leone, and the letterer is Russ Wotton, who is good. He's a good letterer.
Yes.
He is. So it's actually Skybound with Image. It's on the Skybound bit. But it is, as you can probably tell, entirely corporate. For those of you who haven't come across Lego Ninjago, you've clearly never met a child obsessed with Lego. There was a film spun off from a whole bunch of, sets. And the villain of these films is Garmadon. Or Garmadon, I think is technically.
I always go Garmadon, but I wasn't going to stop you.
We'll go with Garmadon. I did watch an episode. I've watched several episodes of Lego Ninjago recently, but he didn't appear in them, so it's difficult to know.
Denied.
But he is, of course, the father of the hero Lloyd. And he is the bad guy, except as bad guys tend to do. He has some change of heart. And look, go to the wiki and look it up. There's a whole history there. I needed the wiki for this. But basically, he now has had a change of heart. He's kind of an anti-hero now. he ends up with these villagers. He's having sort of an existential crisis because that's a theme. He ends up with these villagers, and he's, you know, like, yeah, you give me good things, I will, you know, basically he's trying to run a protection racket. And he's, you know, forced to find the hero within himself. Also, there are bears.
There are bears.
There are bears.
Zuma, the main bear god type creature.
Yes. The largest of all the bears.
The largest bear.
But what it's trying to do is it's trying to appeal to the Lego Ninjago crowd, because there's a lot of stuff here that you get, but if you actually want to understand it, you will probably need to go on the wiki at various points, like I did. But I think it works without too much of that. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff in the trade, which is really helpful. And there's a reading guide giving you the characters and the themes.
Mm-hmm.
So the themes are doing the right thing, making choices, memories, family, and loyalty. Good to know. So yeah, it's different too. There are obviously a lot of Lego comics because corporate tie-in. But they're generally the ones where you get a little free minifigure, and then, you know, your nephews fight over which one gets it.
I felt that was a very specific example, Angela.
It's happened to me. The art in this, what I like is the art doesn't follow that really corporate pattern that the actual Lego comics that you get in the newsagents do. It's actually more thoughtful than that. It's still, you're still drawing Lego people, make no mistake.
Yeah.
But it feels like a proper comic as opposed to the comics that, you know, inevitably my nephews fight over, where the art is just, you know, basically computer generated, but really corporate and basic. This feels more like a lived in world, and it's more interesting for that. The writing's quite good, you know. I never thought I would actually care about what is essentially a corporate tie-in character, but I do. So yeah, I'm going to stop there because the voice is going. Continue.
I basically agree on all those points. I think I've seen the Ninjago film, and I do quite like Garmadon. I was surprised by how quickly I got invested in this.
I know, right?
I remember having a conversation with someone about the Lego films, about how the first Lego movie, like an insane amount of everything in it is Lego and made of like individual Lego pieces. And then the sequel and Batman and Ninjago kind of move away from that, having some things just be backdrop, which I think is true in this. But then every now and again, I'll see something in it like the horses, where it's literally the way that like the minifigs just slot into the horse's back, and that's the same aesthetic here, which is Lego enough for me to think that is quite funny, whilst overall being not entirely like obsessively Lego in its style. However, I do think it works in the confines of, hey, these things are Lego, to be kind of cute enough and expressive enough within those boundaries and rules, if that makes sense. I think it makes sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense.
Because I think there are a lot of rules you're kind of probably don't even think about when something is Lego, and this doesn't feel like they've just taken the characters and done something else. It feels like they've gone, okay, this has to look like the show and work like the show and the film and Lego. The end goal here is to sell Garmadon sets, I guess.
Yeah,
and
I mean, Lord knows I've been looking at Garmadon minifigures on various websites. I've resisted so far, but I don't know how long I'm going to manage that.
I can't really blame you.
I'm just trying to find one with a hat.
Oh, like the circular
yes.
hat rather than, okay.
Yeah, I need a circular hat.
Fair. I also, as long time bigger than Cape sufferers are probably aware, last year I read quite a lot of Ninja Turtles, And this does really remind me of like some of the Shredder miniseries type stuff. Maybe not miniseries, but some of the Shredder stuff where we kind of see his backstory and his like tweener phase where, oh, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Kind of like Shredder in Hell, where spoilers for like, 100 issues in or 90 issues into TMNT, but Shredder's dead.
Shocking.
And in Hell kind of becomes a good guy. But there's very similar vibes here with kind of Garmadon's, protecting a small city, a small town, and kind of existing in a way that's independent from the larger Ninjago verse, the ninja.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, because ultimately reading this doesn't change the series, or I assume it doesn't. And this is standalone enough. It does that classic thing which is in so much stuff where it's like feudal Japan, but then like,
yes,
which I know is historically true, because like on the outskirts of outside of major cities in Japan up until like the early 1900s, people were still carrying swords and dressing in traditional clothing, whilst the cities had electricity. And so I know it's not unbelievable that Ninjago is this super advanced city, and then there's a small town nearby with magic tea. And okay, the magic tea is not exactly real world, but
well, speak for yourself. I've all been to a village that has magic tea.
But this is really good. It's kind of similar to Kobe in that it's funny and a little bit cute, and but still carries some emotion, quite a lot of emotion, I think, in the characters we're given. And whilst I don't know a lot about Garmadon prior to this, I know you've read all the Ninjapedia or
the Ninjago wiki. I have nephews who are very into it. I mean, one of them dresses up as Lloyd on a frequent basis. So yeah, I am overly familiar. In order to communicate with these small people, I have to sort of have some knowledge. Unfortunately, they expect that I have all the knowledge, and there are times where I'm just quietly Googling in the background when they're unaware during a conversation.
It's a lot to unpack. I was surprised. I know when we talked earlier about this, we got into kind of like how Power Rangers lore is incredibly dense, or Turtles lore, to be fair, which is kind of the same for Ninjago. It is just incredibly dense for what it is as a show. And
considering that show is to sell molded plastic, essentially.
Which, don't get me wrong, is incredible and is really impressive. I like the idea that there's some thought put to things, and it makes me think back to like, was it Jim Shooter who was kind of cast to figure out what the Transformers narrative was in in the like original comics in the 80s, because they had the names and they had the designs, but they had no idea beyond that points. So Jim Shooter was charged with figuring out what the hell was going on, why people should want these toys.
And I have to say, I actually admire it, the fact that you're putting that much effort. Is, yes, it's capitalism and it's sell the toys to children, make the money. But I like that they're also like, we need to serve these kids as an audience, and we need to actually give them some sort of media that isn't just something like, oh, this looks cool, we'll just give them that. It's like, I like they've thought about something. World building your corporate toys.
Yeah, I know as a kid I would have appreciated that.
Yeah.
And I know the annoying child I was that would talk about, I don't know, Turtles or Power Rangers literally all day. So, and I know I'm still thinking about things now. I know I've rewatched Power Rangers and read all the Turtles, and I'm still thinking about the incredibly complicated backstories that only become clear years later, or if you read all the comics and things like
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. I like the density of Ninjago and Garmadon. And yeah, I think if you're a kid that's into Lego, you're probably going to think this is great. And
Yeah.
if you're an adult having to put up with it, I think you're probably going to have a good time regardless.
It's probably the best Ninjago related thing I've actually had, apart from actually building the things. So,
Which is quite cool. I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, the film is good. I like the film.
the film is good.
If
The
I had more
series isn't-
time, I would watch the series. I'll at least try to.
The series isn't bad in parts, but man, there's some weird stuff that goes on that just, yeah.
I mean, this suggests there's a lot of back and forth on Garmadon being a good guy and a bad guy and then a good guy
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not his fault he was bitten by an evil snake when he was a child.
Tell me about it.
You know, could happen to any of us.
I love as well that it's like the Lord Garmadon as a child and his brother Wu. It's like, wait. Who's naming these kids?
Yeah, and also, you know, they never told their children don't go near the freaky snake.
Yeah, don't mess with the demon snake in the woods. I don't know.
I feel like there's parenting fail on their parents' behalf there.
Yes. But yeah, good book, funny. I especially like stuff like, is it New? Shit, what's the city called? What is it? He renames the town New.
It's like New.
What's the bad guy called?
Mogra. Lord Mogra.
I think he renames the town New Mogratron.
New Mogratron. Yes, it is. It's New Mogratron.
And there's just a scene of someone going, "Was there an old Mogratron?"
Mogratron, yeah.
And then it's like, I guess that's what they used to call the camp they lived in.
Yes,
there's just enough dumb jokes to carry it, even on a background level, which I really appreciate. I appreciate the level of stupid jokes being made.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like, you know, when the villagers go into battle with like whatever they've just been able to pick up, and it does include pots and pans.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, some of the jokes I think kids wouldn't even acknowledge. Like, was there an old Mogratron?
Yeah.
But I think, I did, and it was funny.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. That is the good bit of an all ages book, is the kids will be amused, but also if you are forced to read it with them, there is enough
got
there.
something to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it is quite dumb dialogue.
Yeah, but it's funny, dumb dialogue.
Yeah, no, I liked this a lot. I would happily read more.
Yes, so this is the first collaboration between the Lego Group and Skybound on behalf of Image.
Yes.
So hopefully there will be more.
I wasn't sure if we're going to get more Ninjago or some kind of Lego movie tie-in, or I don't know what direction they're going to go in.
No.
I don't think they've announced anything yet.
No, they've not.
But as a first venture, I think this is good.
Yeah, it's sorted It's sorted a Christmas present for me.
I can't really argue with that. It seems like a good shout. So moving on to our third book from Vault. So Vault launched an all ages imprint, I want to say last year, called Wonderbound. One of the first books is this one, Rassle Castle.
Yeah.
Volume 1, Learning the Ropes, which is written by Colleen Coover and Paul Tobin, illustrated by Gilad, lettered by Jeff Powell, designed by Bones Leopard?
Yes.
I don't think I'd read that until now.
I'm not sure that. I mean, if Bones Leopard, if that's your real name, props to you.
Yeah, fair play. And if it isn't, good shout. And edited by Rebecca Taylor. In short, Rassle Kingdom, no.
Rassle Castle.
Rassle Castle is basically, it's kind of like a sports manga in the sense that everything within it is defined by wrestling. or wrestling in
In ye modern English
grammatically
terms.
correct.
Yeah.
Basically, we follow Lydia, who wants to be a wrestler and is kind of training to wrestle in secret because her parents have forbid her from wrestling. And her brother, John?
Yes.
John Gator Chomp.
That's the one.
Is that his name?
Assumingly that's like his wrestling name, isn't it?
Clearly, I think so.
Yes.
He is, the greatest wrestler, the youngest wrestler, the youngest instructor, and everyone loves him. And Lydia is kind of aspiring to become the next big thing in Wrestle Castle.
Yes.
With the help of her somewhat stupid friends, Chelsea D and Niall are kind of helping her train and also form the Underground Alibi Network to come up with excuses for where she is when she isn't in, because she should be in school, but is instead secretly trained to wrestle. This is fun.
It is
really dumb, and there are a lot of forced puns and awkward jokes, which again speak to me as a user of awkward jokes and forced puns. There are 3 of these at present. I don't know if it's continuing or if that's all of it. I've only read the first one so far. But yeah, I like this. It's ridiculous, and it's a little bit like My Little Pony, where they force like horse-related words into too many places in how often they say wrestle.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of into that in a ridiculous manner to just keep forcing everything to tie back to the same point. It works, and I also think stuff like the breakdowns of Lydia fighting people with kind of made up wrestling names and the number, if they're an official move or not, and then acknowledging that some moves are not official.
Yeah.
I feel like we're given a little bit of kind of lore. There's like a tour there's a tour around the castle at one point that gives us a little glimpse into some background information. It's clear exposition, but I think for kids, that's probably not gonna.
No, it's not gonna.
I don't think kids know what exposition is. Not so.
I don't think they care.
I'm not sure I knew what exposition was until I was about 25.
I think I learnt it from Austin Powers.
Oh God, yeah, maybe.
Battle exposition.
That's good stuff. I mean, I don't think Austin Powers has aged well, but
it really hasn't. But that bit has. That bit works.
Wayne's World, on the other hand, aged impeccably.
Timeless.
I don't know. I don't think this is as accessible as Garmadon or Kobe, but I think it's pretty easy to jump into. I also think it's kind of different territory in it is. It might be less violent than Garmadon, but
I mean, you never actually see. There's no like. I mean, there is some death later on, but it's like clean death.
And there is some talk of like murder and things like that early on, but it isn't quite. There's a lot of talk in Garmadon about people getting vaporized.
Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of a different tone in some places. Probably more aimed at slightly older kids, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a good all ages read. And I think the art has a nice cartoonish kind of feel. I feel like this would be quite easy to adapt into something like that, not live action. Something
Cartoon.
animated, yes.
Yeah, the art reminds me of something, but I just can't put my finger on it.
It's not that Noel Stevenson book, is it?
I bet you it is.
I can't remember the name of. Love it. Yeah. Nimona?
That's it, Nimona. There you go. Yes, it does remind me of Nimona.
Yes, at least a little bit.
A little bit at points.
Which, not a bad look.
And possibly just anime, generally.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about the sports manga influence. There definitely is anime and manga influence throughout this.
Yeah.
I also like that we get profile cards of all the different characters.
Oh, I like the profile cards.
It's cute, and it feels like the kind of thing you would ordinarily get as back matter, but I think as an all ages book, it's kind of good to have a bit of an info dump on different characters as and when it's needed.
I quite like the rankings. Like, you've got national ranking NA brackets non-wrestler.
Yeah, it adds a good. It's quite good casual world building on top of like the quite blatant exposition.
Yeah,
and I think all the pieces fit together to kind of build this slightly ridiculous world of wrestling all the time into something that makes sense. I'm okay. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe make sense is a.
It makes sense within the world that it is. Like, you get the impression that wrestling is, it's the thing, innit? And also she wrestles a bear.
She does. She wrestles a bear once.
But I think my favourite one is where Chelsea's out spitting the monkey. I think Chelsea out spitting the monkey, that is...
Which does directly relate to something on a previous page, right? Someone spits at them and she's like, is it against the law for me to spit back?
Because, I'm a top, I'm a world-class spitter. She's in the top whatever percent or something. She's level 20.
Yeah, which is insane, but funny.
Yeah, so it's full of nice little moments. I like that Niall, who's a wannabe actor, and he she with the frilly Shakespeare collar.
Yeah, I think there's some good details in that. I think Dee constantly has an apron on because her family are bakers, and
loves the baking.
Yeah, there's just some good little hints toward. I mean, I guess it does go back to that kind of anime manga world of people basically constantly having a reminder of who they are or where they've come from or in their character design. But good book. Simple in what it's trying to do and still has little kind of darker, more serious moments, but I think as a kid's, more as an all ages kind of book, I think it kind of ticks a lot of the boxes. It's not as dense in lore as something like Garmadon, but it's not as brief as something like Kobe. I think it's about 96 pages, maybe.
It is 96 pages. Yes, I've just checked on.
I know stuff.
There you go.
I mean, including covers and stuff, I guess probably 90-ish pages, but it's an easy read and a fast read. I mean,
it is.
I've read all of these quite quickly. I don't think any of these are incredibly dense.
No, you're not going to be sat there for 6 hours trying to pass your way through it.
No. But I think with this, much like the other two, there is enough to latch onto that you probably will want more of it, and it's good that there are 2 more volumes. Yeah.
What I also like about it is it's got your representation, specifically your LGBTQ representation, in that, Lydia's brother John is married with 2 kids.
That's true.
But it is just like, it's not made a big thing of. It's just like, yeah, you know, husband, 2 kids.
Yeah, which I think is the way it should be done. That it's
Exactly.
an effort to make it just a casual part of the world, not a feature.
Yeah.
But yeah, representation is good. Pretty much consistently throughout this. I think that is something. I think this and Kobe are probably better for representation than Garmadon and our last book. But I guess Garmadon is kind of dependent on what Lego have created.
Yes.
And this and Kobe being their own standalone, free for whatever the creators want to put in them worlds.
Yeah.
Allow for more balanced representation and more freedom.
That's the thing. Yeah, no, it is. It's just an easy read. It's got humour. The art's nice, but it doesn't talk down to, you know, the children. In that it does tackle some quite big things, like, you know, what do you want to do in life and why do you want to do it?
Yeah, no pressure, but
yeah, you want to wrestle. And how do you achieve your dreams? And also, you know, other things happen. So yeah, it's very well rounded, which is what a good all ages book should be.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot to go at, and I think it ticks all the boxes for all the things, really.
Yeah.
Which I think we've said about all the books, but
this
I
is
guess that's a sign
recommendations.
that we're making great recommendations, Angela.
It is. We are making really good ones.
Should we progress to our fourth and final book?
The final book, right. So this is Mr. Invincible, written and illustrated by Pascal Josselin. I'm trying to say that with a French accent and failing.
Oh, that's what that is.
Doesn't work with laryngitis. Cannot do accents with laryngitis. Coloured by Lawrence Crowe. Translation by David Byron, James Hogan, and Ivanka T. Handenberger. If I mispronounce these, I'm just blaming my laryngitis. Layout, localization, and editing by Mike Kennedy. So this was originally a French language book, written in French, drawn by French people, I assume. Yes. It was originally published in France as Imbattable, One Justice et Légumes Froids. Again, if I've mispronounced that, it's the laryngitis.
I'm just going to let it happen and believe that was...
So, basically, Mr. Invincible, it's kind of like... It's a bit like an anthology series, in that there's like little standalone stories, although some of them do follow on from each other. Featuring Mr. Invincible, the one and only true comic book superhero. And Mr. Invincible's superpower, as it were, is that he cares not for your panel order. He uses the panels in order to solve the problems. Everything from sort of going to a later panel and redirecting a bullet and sort of carrying things and moving them around in between panels and leaning down and rescuing cats from trees and all this kind of stuff. So he cares not for your panels. So each each story or little tale, some of them are just one page, some of them are multiple pages. Mm-hmm. There's a whole thing about the Bulls field later on. But yeah, they're just really, you can just sit a child down and they can, which I have done. I've physically done this. The child nicked my iPad and read quite a bit of this in one sitting. They could just sit down and read a couple of little short stories and then they could just go off and do something else and come back to it. But what I did find was the child that nicked my iPad and sat down with it, he actually read quite a big chunk of it before he was told to stop playing with your auntie's iPad and go and play with something else. So I definitely know it has all ages appeal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very sweet, and it's just kind of fun to have a superhero who, breaks all the rules of composition and just is like, I'm going to use this and solve the problem.
I agree. I think this is quite classic feeling in its format, and kind of feels like more comic strippy than graphic novel or single issue or anything like that. But I think it does something that breaks convention and plays with comic book convention in a really interesting way, and continues to find clever ways to do that. The passing things between panels, you would think would wear a bit thin quite quickly, but manages not to.
Yeah.
And plays into that kind of fourth wall breaking that we historically see with stuff like, She-Hulk, Deadpool. But also reminds me of, this is one of those deep cut Marvel characters no one cares about. You remember Slapstick?
Yes.
Who, if memory serves, is a regular person who accidentally gets bonded to like a suit that gives him the powers of a cartoon character.
That's right, yes.
So he has access to hammer space to produce, I don't know, giant hammers and various other weapons, but can also kind of store things in a literal pocket dimension. So he has like infinite pockets and can be crushed and like reinflate himself. Basically just follows comic book and cartoon tropes. Doesn't get a lot of use in the Marvel comics because
he had a standalone a few years ago that just didn't
spun off from like Deadpool Corps.
Yes, which didn't really go anywhere, and I think that was probably my least favourite version.
Yeah, and I appreciate what they were trying to do with that, but I feel like it works better when he was like part of New Warriors, or was it the Initiative?
He was in Summit.
I think it was the Initiative after Civil War when everyone got signed up to be part of.
Oh yes,
the Initiative, as it was called.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point here wasn't how good was Slapstick that time. My point here was that he kind of, it was a similar thing where the writers clearly knowingly were trying to break convention by using those conventions to make it that he could do impossible things, which is what Mr. Invincible is. He kind of quite simple, and there's not a lot of information here. There's not a lot of character work.
No.
It's all very throwaway comic strips, but it is a good time, and kids who are into superheroes are gonna like this. I also think kids who've read quite a lot of comics are gonna like this.
Yeah.
Also see adults.
Yes.
Definitely. But I think there's 2 issues in the trade, and it's about 100 pages.
Yeah.
It is from Magnetic Press, and it's a bit difficult to track down because it was printed in French, then translated to English and different publishers. But I think you can probably find it somewhere still, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite recent because it was it's 5 years old in French, but I don't think this translation came out until a couple of years after that.
Yeah, I remember us talking about it when it came out, or came out-ish, not long after. But very different from the other books we talked about, but definitely worth checking out, and definitely a good, unlikely all ages kind of pick, I think. I don't think I've got a lot more to add. I don't really want to give too much away about any of these books, or
no, we don't want spoilers.
But all good picks. I think there's kind of something for everyone.
There's you've got your super indie, your corporate tie-in, your general just all ages, and then your little anthology type thing.
Yeah. I know it is hard to find Christmas presents for people and figure out things that they won't already have, especially when a lot of all ages books do seem to be kind of tie-ins. Obviously, we've talked about one of those. But I think these are pretty solid recommendations, which you should be able to pick up. I mean, obviously, Kobe alone is relatively small,
but you can get it from Volume 1 comics.
Yeah, I happen to know where there are some copies. And things like Mr. Invincible, we're not entirely sure, but it does exist somewhere.
You could just get it in the French and just, enjoy the art if you were that way inclined. Or if you speak French, make your children dual linguists.
Yeah, what better way to...
The power of comics.
You're going to have to learn French sooner or later. Why not start?
Yep. New World Order.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking these out. And if you're listening and you have some all ages recommendations that you think we should talk about in the future, hit us up. We're still on the crumbling hellscape that is Twitter.
Yeah, Elon's not shut us off yet.
Not yet. We are at Volume 1. We're on Instagram, which I am trying to keep on top of. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere.
We're out bigger than capes.
We are at Bigger Than Capes. And we are tired.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
This is a relatively short one for us.
Yeah, I apologise for the audio quality. It's entirely my voice.
Ain't it just? We will be back. I think our next episode is going to be our end of year, kind of best of 2022. There's been some great books this year. I'm looking forward to running some of them down.
It's been a good year.
Running them down doesn't feel like the right description.
Sounds slightly threatening.
It does.
Gonna run them down.
Run them down.
Slice them open.
But I'm looking forward to talking about some really good comics.
Yes.
You're going to hear this in like a week's time, but I think 2022 has been a pretty good year for media all round.
It has.
So on that note, we've been Angela and Zach.
Yes.
From Bigger Than Capes. And, happy holidays.
Happy holiday. Happy gift buying.
Yeah, happy gift buying season. I don't know. I haven't got a better sign off.
I don't think there's any other sign off we can make there.
So
Yeah.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra. Keep on trucking. We need a better sign. If you have any suggestions,
keep on trucking.
Yeah.
But seriously, if you do have a better idea, hit us up. We
please,
need all the help we can get.
Save us, for the love of God. Bye.
Bye.